This point. We're live. There we go. Well, welcome. We're here with Dr. Mystical Tarot and Tarot Oracle. We are hanging out today doing the future of tarot. So, like, what is going to happen with tarot? Where are we going to be at in 10 years, 15 years? I mean, like, what is the future? If I can click and find the right button, it'd be great.
Find all the buttons. It's all of the buttons.
The last button I clicked turns out to be the one that I needed. Oh, that never happens.
That never happens.
Stephanie, Shannon, welcome. What's going on?
Hey, Stephanie. Hello, Shannon. How are you? Hope you're well.
All right. Future of tarot. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with just this massive amount of decks coming out? Do you want to start Go ahead.
It's good. It's good timing for the video. That's good. That means we're on to something. That's good. Yeah. So so you and I had a chat in the comments about this. But there's so much competition for our money. How do we where do we want to spend it? And I think you kind of correctly pointed out that there's so much in terms of quantity coming out that it's becoming more and more competitive. And so Teal, let's call it what it is. It's on a cycle, right? We know when these decks come out, right? They come out at Halloween, like in advance of Halloween, and they come out just before Christmas or Yuletide or whatever winter holiday that you celebrate is, right? And then there's like another dose in the spring, but that's and then they're just layered in through the year.
Yeah, there's just so many. It's just massive. How do you choose? I mean, when you have 30, like one a day, so you theoretically could have an unboxing every single day in September and probably October.
So, I think for me, I choose tarot, there's a difference between how I choose tarot decks for me and how I choose tarot decks for my community and my show and things like that. So there are decks in the collection that might not resonate with me, but do have a resonance with my community, and that ebbs and flows. Like for a while, we'll go with a deck for a while, and then that kind of the energy around that'll kind of wane, and we'll do something differently. But I tend to kind of go off the vibe of the group, and I do get swept up in some of the fandomonium, right? I get sucked up in the mania around the Darkwood Tarot, which is you and I disagree, but I still think it's like a pretty striking deck. But I don't read with it that often. And then coming out in September is the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, and same author.
Right, same author, same artist, right? And I'm excited about it, but I'm also very worried about it because I would love to get the deck and use the deck, but I know this is heresy. I'm not a big Nightmare at Christmas fan, to be honest with you. But my community may be.
Do you find yourself getting pickier? I mean, I find myself to where I'm more peculiar about. In other words, if I saw a deck in September, it's one of these 30 decks that are coming out. If I saw one of these back in April, I would be interested in it. But now because there's so much, I'm finding myself getting a little bit more picky. I'm like, I can't buy all of these, obviously. So maybe I'll just get these two right here and then buy this one next year or something.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I'm getting to now that the mystical mantle, the collection is getting bigger and bigger. I'm finding the same sort of thing that I'm like, I've got enough really cool stuff for right now. Let me wait to see what happens, and then if something really amazing jumps out, or my community identifies it as a deck they'd like to see, then I'm more likely to kind of get that right away. Otherwise, I would wait. In fact, I just did a big bookshop haul almost to kind of round out some of the decks that I had seen other people use that I was interested in, or to round out some of the creators that I'm interested in, like Fabio Lastrani, who's done Night Sun and Santa Muerte, and there seems to be something else that works for him. Right. I kind of find myself now, as I get a little bit more sophisticated in my collection, starting to identify with creators and with authors and artists, and starting to want to kind of drill down on that interest more than anything else. And it's not even like I really like your art so much. That might be the entryway, the doorway. But then I find the more open creators are, and the more interested they are in our practice and people who actually use the cards, that's what tends to drive my interest anymore. So I think that with quantity going up, that's one thing. But I really do think that the quality, so it's a kind of we'll talk about some overall quality issues, but with the quantity going up, I think we need to be more picky. And I think that the pickiness is a lot more around the communities that those creators build. And I think that's right. If they just have a little bit more time for community, they might be churning out less decks.
But that's what I see with, I mean, you'll get authors that you're just addicted to, like Eugene Smith, that did the Wonderland Tarot. So the minute I saw the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot, which normally, I mean, I'm not really a huge Poe fan. I would just like grab this up, but because they did it, I tend to want to buy it. So, and just follow it.
And Borders, you're not a big, you and I are both agree we're not huge Border fans either. And that deck is almost set in a frame.
Yeah. So we have, like you're talking about quality issues. So the Papa Squirrel video had a deck that was literally like a piece of paper, and he got the whole deck and just bent it with no effort whatsoever. Do you think because people are trying to get this cranked out for Christmas or for holidays, do you think we're getting some quality issues?
Yeah, I do. I really do think that we're like, and so I see there's no middle ground anymore. Either cards are super, if they're kind of mass market decks, they tend to err on the side of lowering overall quality by having a thinner card stock or thinner core, different, like more of a paper core as opposed to plastic core. I find that they're cheaping out on some of what looks like quality, but they're like high gloss decks are cheap to produce. They make it shine. It's kind of like a shiny object, but when you really start using it with these high gloss decks, your cards just scooch everywhere. And so yeah, I think we're seeing cheaper quality decks, especially as we saw, as printing. I don't know what's going on in the world of printing. I would say everything's getting imprinted in China, but we know that that's not necessarily the case anymore. And then I also see like an overcompensation. So Murderer Crows is a good example. That cardstock on that deck, Murderer Crows as well as Modern Witch, both of those, like, they're beautiful decks, but the cardstock is so thick that if you're a fan shuffler like I am, it's almost impossible to kind of work with the deck. I mean, when you line up a tarot deck next to each other, it's almost twice as thick as the standard issue tarot, which was fine. Like, that's a fine quality. Like,
you have plastic decks coming out too, like the plastic Rider-Waite is coming out. So it's going to be plastic could be a little thicker, but I mean, you can read it in the tub, or I don't know what people do with these things, but
Although maybe tub readings is a way, maybe that's where YouTube Tarot is going. I don't know.
It could be. So you do have
talk about a loss of viewers.
Just have the bubble bath.
Unsubscribe.
Have the big bottle of bubble bath. Just get it from Sam's Club. The 7-gallon bottle.
Right. That's right. And just tarot in the tub.
Yeah, there you go. So we're attracting a lot of new people in here. We got a lot of indie decks. We got a lot of people that never had decks before. They're coming out. They're making money on Kickstarter. They have 1 billion people that order the decks. I mean, do you think we're going to get? Do you think that trend's going to continue over the next 10, 15 years? Just more and more people getting on the train?
Yeah, I think we're going to start to see, I think we're going to see things go the way kind of media is going in general. So I really love going towards the indie deck route. And I think part of that is my draw towards creators as communities and creators as wanting to see people use their cards and get excited about people using their craft. I mean, what the hell good is it if you're just turning out a deck or a book and you don't give a shit whether people use it or how they use it? And I have decks like that. I have creators who are like, meh, all right, whatever, or they ignore, and that's fine. It's up to them to how they want to opt into their community. But it does, as a reader, I pay attention to that. If you're not going to be like good for the people that I read with and my community that I'm a part of, then maybe that's a signal to me that that's not a place I want to invest my time or energy or money. But I do think that people are going to go more towards that kind of indie card world. And I think mass market's going to do what mass market typically does, which is they're going to start to kind of co-opt that indie card, just like beer did, right? So like everything's owned by one beer company, even though it's all these specialty micro decks or right? You know what I mean? Like that's where I think what's going. And I'd like to see the indie card people creating cool stuff that has that I think that they're doing a better job, and they're more in touch with who uses their cards and what they want to do. Although, in fairness, I do think that a lot of people, I'm starting to understand that a lot of people create tarot as almost a sideline to other art projects, which is fine. It's a thing that I notice, right? They might be creating a set of characters or symbolism that's related to another art project or media project they're working on, which is also, that's totally fine.
And you'll see people pulling artists. I mean, they'll have an artist combined works. It's now CC0, where I can do anything I want with the media, and I'm just gonna create a deck from that. So, digital versus painted mediums. Where do you see that going? Like, what is the future here?
I don't know. I mean, you're doing kind of a hybrid of both, right? You're doing paintings, and you're digitizing those paintings. And I think, to me, I think people are going to do both. I get some of the highly digitized art is sometimes it gets a little bit weird for me. Like, I will admit that I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to art, but I'm getting better. I'm recovering Luddite about this. But I think when it's super highly digitized, I think we miss some of the point of that. But digital art and using things like Wacom tablets or things like that to draw, I think drawing is still going to be where it's at. Though I understand that people, I understand how people work, but I do think it's going to become more and more digital, just because creating art digitally, even hand drawings or painting drawings or things like that, using different apps on your phone or your tablet, or even just a drawing tablet, you can get some pretty high definition types of art on a computer drawing tablet. So I think it's gonna go more toward digital. But I'd be curious what you think, because you are doing painted and you're doing a lot of painting work. This Waterfall Tarot is all of your paintings.
Yeah, well, it's good to mix them. I like mixing them. Okay, the problem with any hand painted anything is going to be supplies. Oil paint is expensive. Canvases are expensive. Theoretically, you can do sheets of oil paper or work on watercolor paper, work on, I don't know, any paper. But again, it's going to look different. It's not going to have the same style. So what I did was I would create, like the image on the right here, I would create that person in the seal and in the background. And then the rest of it, I would run through a watercolor filter. So it was watercolor with a watercolor filter, which is kind of laughable. But then I would go and sketch out any realistic things out of there. And so my workflow was very fast. So I only did the person, the seal, a couple of lines in the background, and then I did everything else digitally, and I could crank it out in 3-4 hours. So I could do 2 a day, if I was in a hurry, but that sort of worked out for me in the long run. But it looked okay. So the blending of those two, I think, really works. And it looks different than something like you're talking about all digital, but you do have all digital projects like the Dark Mansion, which is just heralded as, I must have that. That is really, put up on a beautiful deck, on a pedestal. So, Do you think, when you're creating this, do you have if you're an artist, I apologize right now that I'm going to butcher your tools because I don't know, but do you have like a bamboo tablet or a Wacom tablet that you can use a pencil stylus with and draw out on?
Yes,
you pretty much have to do that. Wacom tablet, you can't really do. There's a limited things amount of. It's easy for me to say. There are a limited amount of things that you can do with a mouse. And eventually you have to break down and get some type of a tablet. Plus, it's easier on the hands if you got arthritis, if you've been in computers for 1 billion years, et cetera. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's where, we're seeing amazing things like comics, graphic novels are all created very digitally through this medium. And I think that's where we're going to see, I think we'll see tarot kind of go in that direction. I certainly like to work like that, although I don't, I have an iPad and Apple Pencil from the day hustle that I reappropriate it to learn how to draw. But my brother is the artist, not me.
Well, you don't have to be an artist.
And I used to say that I was the one who learned how to make money, but that's not true either. So that's, but he, yeah, no, you don't have to be an artist either. And that's what I'm really kind of enjoying, is that I'm able to kind of, and I would arguably, you are being an artist if you're creating something, no matter how ham-fisted it may be, but I find myself really enjoying that. And I do like to, I took up painting last year for, just because I was interested in Bob Ross. So I'm getting a little bit better with that type of work.
Did you clean the brush with slapping it around and getting the...
Yeah, what does he say? Beat the devil out of it? I beat the devil out of it.
Like, yeah, I can't imagine that somebody doing that at home and having like carpet filled with this flammable liquid.
Yeah, the garage is a little splattered, but that's okay.
So do you think we'll ever have a full creation with just an iPad? I'm going to create a whole tarot deck just with an iPad and a pencil.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can. I mean, there's apps like Affinity, and there's all sorts of. I don't know on my iPad like near me to go take a look at the one app that I have, but I think it's called Procreate, but in Affinity Photo and things like that. So I think we could. I think it's reasonable to assume that we'll see a fully digitally created thing on a mobile device like a tablet. Maybe not on a phone, although people are pretty handy on phones. I'm old, so we'd want to ask some other of our fun friends, our younger friends who are a little bit more mobile oriented, what if they think they could create something on mobile.
Well, there you go. Stephanie said I hired an artist for my deck.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of that, like Barbara Moore will be the Tarot and Wonderland. Barbara Moore wrote everything, designed everything, and then Eugene Smith came and did the art for that. I mean, do you think that's going to be practical for most people?
Yeah, I don't know if it's practical for most people, though. I have a graphic artist who's a friend and who helped me with my steampunk divination dice. And I would, and if you look out on Upwork or Fiverr, you're going to see people who are looking for artists to kind of make their vision come alive. So I think if you can make that work, I think that's awesome. What a great collaboration to have somebody understand your vision, understand the messaging that you want to create, and then kind of work with you to kind of give that a picture. I mean, when I sat down with the woman who helped me is Pam from Brown Paper Creative, and she, when I sat down, I'm like, so this is the symbol, these are what I'm thinking about, and this is what I want the messaging to be. I mean, when she returned with that product, I was completely blown away that she could put pictures to what was in my head. I thought that was a pretty cool process. So, if I had to do it again, that would be, I wouldn't be ashamed of that if I could find an artist that like her, and I can find her. She's easy enough to find. But if I, working with someone like that who kind of you can vibe with and understand, I think that's an awesome collaboration, and we certainly see that in mass market tarot.
Yeah, definitely. If you go that route, you need to have them commit, because 78 cards is a lot of work.
78 cards is a lot of work. Stephanie's right. They have to be just as excited about your project as you are. And I think to Stephanie's point, I think that's part of the community, right? That's like we talked about earlier, that I kind of gear myself towards tarot creators that have communities, and that's right. I have a community, and there's people who are tattoo artists in my community, and graphic artists who are in my community, and that's a place where I could find somebody to create something with me that's just as excited about the work and the community that I vibe with, and I think that's kind of really cool. Yeah, it does need to be a partnership for sure, and they have to, because there's a lot of back and forth. And Pam can tell you that I can be. People don't know this about me, but I can be fairly cantankerous, and so you need somebody who's invested, who's not just like, you know what, pal, why don't you just shut up and sit down? Although she said that to me plenty of times. So, you're wrong about your vision, sir. And this is what I think we need to do.
So about instructions, you said you went to a class on how to create tarot. What kind of things did you learn in there?
So, honestly, it was really kind of more of I want to talk about it more as a kind of guided meditation. It wasn't a physical class. Chris Ann did a tarot class online through, I think it's Ethany, Ethany's, I forget the name of it's called Tarot Summer School. You can go check it out.
That's Ethany's site.
Yeah, Anthony's deal. And I think Chris Ann did a very good job, because not only does she kind of lead you through the effort, then she kind of points you into some places where you can start to get your work done and thought about, and then kind of guide you through, I think, what most people are perplexed by, which is the publisher route. How do you get your deck in front of a publisher if that's what you want to do? It was very much click through e-learning. There was a little bit of community aspect, but I typically don't engage, and I'm more of a observer in that regard. But it was really helpful to kind of get the structure of how I wanted to create the tarot, and then and so I think that people could certainly sit down with the cards and whip up a card if they have that kind of creative artist bent, but that wasn't me at the time. So
yeah, and we have classes back in the old days before COVID. Back in the good old days. I'm old enough to remember the good old days before COVID. We used to go to, they used to have bookstores would have a space where you could just pay them, and then you could rent it for an afternoon, and we would go and learn from different tarot people, a class. And so sometimes, and so it would be an in-person learning. But now, like you're talking about, you can go through maybe a click-through class. You can go to an online class. We got Zoom. We got all these other media formats online. Do you see physical learning surviving in the next 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I don't, honestly. I mean, not because of COVID. I mean, my day hustle tends to lean more towards online learning anyway. I think that's where people are going. I think we've been through a long enough period where people have really kind of begun to understand what you can do with e-learning. The Zoom classes are fine, but I don't know about you, T.O., but if I have to sit through one more goddamn video meeting during my workday, I'm going to lose my mind. I appreciate seeing people, but I'm getting a little weary of waving to people at the end of every meeting. You don't do that in real life. You're like, thanks for the meeting. So I think we're going to see instruction headed more towards that. I think we're going to see asynchronous and synchronous. Like, you have just a wonderful tarot 101 learning tarot playlist that I think you could do very well to kind of get your grounding, and then you can start to, like a lot of people have, learn it there and then start to do their own thing and their own tarot readings. Where I think synchronous kind of training helps is getting that immediate validation of that's the way that you read that, or could you think about it in a different way? I think I think people are going to kind of go in both of those directions, but I mean, physical may persist. It's persisted for hundreds of years. It's no reason to think it's going to go away, but I think that online instruction around tarot, either creation or using or reading, has a lot more to offer. It's much more flexible for people's kind of busy lives.
Yeah, the only problem is the different time zones. If I have someone join from Norway or Ireland or the UK, they're going to have a different scheduled time that they would prefer versus somebody in the East Coast, West Coast of the U.S.
That's very true. Yep, that's very true. And that's what a lot of kind of higher education is suffering with, because they have students all over the world. That's why asynchronous or synchronous learning doesn't always work for things like that. And I think that's where asynchronous, like a playlist or something like that, can help to do that. And then you can create, this is kind of what I do for, that's what I do for like a regular living. But you can design, I think that's where the community aspect comes in, design those interactions that are a little bit more responsive to what the student or the client wants to know or work with.
Yeah, and you can have like videos and then have a homework assignment and then get feedback on the homework assignment type thing. So
absolutely,
just like standard school.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for content creators like you and I, we can leverage things like hashtagging and tag me in this video. Like, you've watched this video. Now I'd like to see you do a reading. Right, so go and do a reading and tag me in that video and let me know, and then I can kind of come along and take a look at that. And I think that helps Two, because again, it brings people into our community and it brings people together to help kind of raise the kind of a rising tide.
Yeah, it's just got to be sort of a more of a structured learning rather than just sort of random. I think a lot of my videos are just random. I do have people say, hey, do you have anything more structured? Like, here's how you start, here's where you go, here's some exercises. I turn in homework. So I may work through something like that. Do you have anything like that on the horizon? Or?
I'm looking at doing a couple of different things with the Facebook group. So Facebook has a new kind of online events thing. There's Johnny, they're late to the game on that deal, but I'm thinking I talked about having a tarot class probably for October. That'll be a little bit more kind of on your own, but a structure of kind of where to go and where to begin. I tried this once before and I used game theory to enhance it, and I got a little ahead of myself. And my eyes were much bigger than my stomach, and I created a monster class that was way too complicated. And so I'm going to strip that down. And so it might still be kind of gamified, where we're using some game theory type motivations through the course to help people explore tarot the way that they're kind of geared towards. And then, I have that sort of supporting structure underneath where we can give and get readings and support that's convenient for us, that's a little bit more kind of individualized. So it's like, let me see a reading and I'll, do things like that. So, but I think that people can learn on their own. But again, you're still missing some of that. Like, that's enough to cover the foundations, but tarot is an art, and art takes fine tuning, and that's.
Yep, that's where it's going. So that's the problem. We'll talk about that later. That's the problem with physical things right now, between all the violence, rioting, things like that. Then COVID. It seems that we have this perfect storm of let's not go out of the house.
Yeah,
maybe we should stay in.
Yeah, I don't want to go to the house. Like, I'm not leaving the house. That's crazy.
So what do you think's left? So we have tarot. We have symbolism, we have the Kabbalah, we have astrology, we have stuff like that. So to answer that question, for me, I did the card combos. I just don't see, I know what the Seven of Swords means, but I have a Three of Cups and a Two of Hearts next to it. What does that mean together? And that's sort of where I came up with my book, just trying to figure out how to combo everything together. Other than that, what's left? What do you think's left to do?
Yeah, I think that was I really thought when you came out with that was a super innovative way to look at kind of advancing tarot. So, like any skill, right? You can learn the basics and get 90%, 95% of the way to being there. And then it becomes incremental improvements, right? So it's like buying new tech, right? You can buy a basic webcam and it gets you most of the way there, but then you're going to spend another $150 on something that seems like an incremental improvement, but you're really happy with it. Say, I can't show my new microphone. So like, I'm really like, it's an incremental improvement, but it's a big enough improvement. And I think that's the same for learning. Like, as a tarot reader, I'm now in that place where I've been doing it for a while and I'm looking for those kind of incremental improvements. And I learn from watching your show and watching other tarot readers. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting approach in interpretation. Like the others, like there was one show someone said, what will the gender of my baby be? And I got pulled a king and for whatever reason did not even associate that to the gender. But you were like, it's a boy, dude. Like, pay attention. What are you doing? And so I think that there is these incremental changes. And I think in terms of learning tarot, one of the things that I'm starting to do, and I do this in my show, kind of live consciousness, stream of consciousness, where I say, the Three of Wands in this deck is similar to and different from these other decks when we see the combinations. And so I think some of it is really going to be to start to pick apart the reinterpretations and the new symbolism to look at, how does this vary from the rider weight, the traditional rider weight, and any of the foundational decks, and then start to look at how start to kind of reverse engineer how the artist might have taken that apart. And so I think there's still a lot to look at in tarot. I mean, this has been going for hundreds of years. People have been taking tarot classes for hundreds of years. I mean, at this point, we're looking at those incremental changes. So I still think there's a lot, and I think the people will come up with innovative ways to do things and look at different parts of the tarot. And then I also think that the next thing for tarot is going to be what we've seen already. And if you go digging deep enough, that tarot is an impetus for other creations and other divinations and other styles of creation and art and symbolism, and like creating a movie out of a tarot or whatever, story out of it.
Yeah, I was thinking about a board game about tarot, just learning tarot via a board game. So you have a game and it's actually running, and then you have to, develop skills or whatever, and the skills are going to be skills from the deck, and then those are going to be to defeat enemies or stuff like that. So I'd be kind of interested to see.
That's really neat.
Once I get done with it, what it'll look like. So videos, TikTok didn't survive long. Do you think shorter videos are in our future, or do you think it needs to be 15, 20, 30 minutes?
No, I think shorter videos are in the future. I think that I mean, this is kind of how I've thought for years and years. And certainly, what does Mark Twain say? Sorry for the length of this letter. If I had had more time, it would have been shorter. And so I think very much, people, I was telling one of the mods on my channel a couple weeks ago that I very much use her YouTube habits as a way to rethink about my YouTube videos, because she's like has zero filter. She'd be like, that was boring as shit. Or that carried on for too long, or that was like, she's not being mean about it. She's just direct and I appreciate that. I appreciate that directness. Because otherwise I have to divine from the universe what people are thinking about, and I'd rather just ask them, and I'd rather them just tell me. But yeah, I do think shorter videos are the future, kind of getting things tight. I think people have, when you look at YouTube analytics, that understanding the YouTube analytics and algorithm, I think that is as much as we hate it, I think it's a good indicator of our behavior, our attention management, our behavior, our interests, those are, so I think that, we're going to see shorter videos, even short videos that I run, I just started this new kind of unboxing flip through combo style. And even that, people are skipping up. It's like when I look at the analytics, people are skipping up to the flip through, watching the flip through and being done. And that's okay. That's totally fine, right? Some people don't, some people persist, but overall, that's where kind of people are going. So, yeah, I'm not really sure how much you can jam into 30 seconds. There's I don't know. Limited amount of material you can put in 30 seconds. I mean, I don't know if TikTok style or Instagram Reel style. Although I'm more interested in Instagram Reels than I am in TikTok, but I don't know. I haven't gotten to the point where I know how I would do that yet. Have you? You're kind of a YouTube loyalist. Are you a TikToker? Is there a tarot oracle on TikTok?
Well, I was going to, but I'm so late to the game that they're already shutting it down. You're late when they're shutting the platform down, that you're thinking, I need to get on that tomorrow, Oh, wait, it's shut down.
Oh, wait, all right. Yeah, no, I get it.
I think there's a limit of 15, 20 seconds is too little. Like you're talking about, people will click off a video after about 2 minutes. So I think if you can do a flip through in 2 minutes of the majors, for example, and a few minors, if you can do a pick a card in 2 minutes, if you can do a review in 2 minutes without sounding like the old FedEx commercial guy, then I think that's going to work. But there's a place for it, and I don't think that you can sort of shoehorn every video content into that time, though. Yeah,
I think I agree, and I think that. I agree with that. And I think you're right. I mean, we might end up saying, so one of the things that YouTube does is you can create chapters so people can skip up very easily. And when you think about how does Google work? So when you Google something, you'll probably start to notice that they show up you'll get a video that's kind of keyed. Like it's got, here's 37 seconds of how to boil an egg. And it'll pop up with that video and it'll all be scrubbed to that portion, and you just click and it picks up there, and then you can keep watching if you want to. I think that the chapter, and I don't know this because I don't know anybody at Google, but I'm divining from the Google universe that that sort of thing is helpful. And so it also may be that we create a video for, the Waterfall Tarot Majors and the Waterfall Tarot Suit of Cups and Suit of Wands and Swords and Pentacles. And each of these is a separate video on a playlist that I can dive into, or I can just go to if I need to know what's going on for, the Four of Pentacles and, in this particular deck. So yeah, I don't know. And I also don't necessarily think that longer form videos are going away. I just think that in order for them to survive and have a benefit, they need to be higher quality productions. So we're starting, right? Just like Facebook rewards, major Hollywood studios and not small creators. It's the same.
Yeah, and you'll see that Gypsy had a good point for a YouTube video. If it's not 10 minutes, then they really discourage it. It doesn't appear. It doesn't get recommended. I think it can be monetized. I'm not really sure, but
I don't know. I think they can be. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely watched YouTube videos that are over 10 minutes that had been monetized and commercial, but you're right. Your Gypsy's absolutely right that there are limits on monetization, and there's definitely guidance on what monetizes better than others and where you'll get more monetization. So if you are a monetized channel, I'm not. If you are a monetized channel, you'll learn, like I would imagine, just like I do from analytics, you'll learn which videos perform better from a money standpoint. Although, that's not. It's hard to talk about that and be a tarot channel and be a spiritual person, right? But
yeah, but
so we have to acknowledge it.
Do you think anything's going to be competing with YouTube anytime soon?
No. Like what would? No, that's crazy. No, I mean Facebook tries and fails routinely on being better for content creation. I would. Kitty's Corner says they put too many ads if you go over 10 minutes. Yep. They put a lot of ads out there, and I think that is probably going to be the thing that Kitty's Corner mentions, that's going to be the thing that's going to drive people off. Like that's going to be the thing that drives people off platform, is it's getting to be, far too many commercials, although my youngest kid doesn't seem to care about that. But I don't see an up and coming channel. Facebook tries. They tried with IGTV. They're going to try to take on TikTok with Instagram Reels, but I think YouTube still is they're the giant, man. They're even Vimeo, which has been hanging on. I don't know.
Yeah, but you can skip the ads. I mean, you get Brave for iPad, Brave for your Brave browser for your phone. It'll skip the ads, so you don't have to watch any ads.
Very much true. Yeah, very much true. And YouTube is the second largest. Yeah, YouTube's the second largest search engine in the world. Like it's and the only one beating it is Google. So I don't know. I think it's going to be around for a while. I think YouTube is savvy enough and responsive enough to creators and communities and viewers that they continue to modify that platform. I think Facebook makes too many changes for it to be, and they may strike it well one day, but I think Facebook's got other problems.
Yeah, so pick a card, classes, prediction readings. What video content do you see in the future? I mean, as far as this goes.
I don't know. This is a good question because I'm about to do a pick a card with V living crystals. I don't know. I think that there's room for all of us, and I think there's room for what people create. I like what Papa Squirrel's doing, where he's kind of thematically presenting tarot. He just did a very nice video on the rainbow tarot decks created by LGBTQ creators or that are representative of that community. I thought that was a great video. And I think those things, I think people are more interested in kind of understanding a little bit more what's happening behind the scenes, though I still see, and even though I don't do this, I still see so much traffic around horoscope-based readings and pick-a-card-based readings. And I like a pick-a-card. I think I enjoy creating them. because they're fun and it gives me a place to kind of put some creative energy. And I know that people tend to really enjoy them. And so that's, I think there's room for everything. I think I don't know what'll persist. I think live streaming will continue to persist for a while.
Live streaming is nuts. I mean, I'll make a video, I'll spend hours making a video. I'll put it up. It has an intro. It has good music. It has an ending. It has arrows pointing to. It's great instructional video. And then I'll do a live stream where I just make up stuff as we go along, and I'll do a magic trick on it, and it has like 600 views. And I'm like, I just worked my butt off, and that thing doesn't have 200 views. I just go randomly live and click the live button. I got 600 views. It's like, why would I bother making the instructional video?
Right. No, I agree. I think live is a lot more authentic, and I think people have fun with lives. And I think more than anything, what I notice is that, and people can comment about this, but I think for me, and I don't know what happens, I've lost total control of my chat. I have no idea what happens in there most of the time. Like, it's like overhearing someone, like you're in a restaurant and someone shouts, and then she tripped down the stairs. And that's kind of what I'm like, what the hell happened? And so I see that in the chat, but I think the community that we foster on live streams has its own, it's almost like two shows happening, right? It's almost like there's a chat show and there's a live stream show. It's like the old, you and I are old enough to know the old bulletin board systems. It's like Reddit in the chat, right? It's like its own separate thing.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next thing
Gets
here.
me nervous. Boo says, lives make her nervous.
Lives make her nervous. Lives have a lot of people. They had a lot of people join. I've had 60 people on a live one time. I was like, geez, what am I doing to entertain all these people?
That's right.
I can barely entertain 3 people at work. What am I going to do to entertain 60 people?
And then 60 people. Right? People don't understand, like, your day hustle. People are like, you're really that interesting? Yeah. To some people, I am that interesting, I guess. Just not you.
Meanwhile, you join a meeting and everybody stops talking. You're like, I can't wait to get out of here.
I'd rather be live. Right? We should have shirts that say, "I'd rather be live streaming."
I'd rather be live streaming. All right. So, payment processors. As of the what was it? There's a limited payment processors, but there's a lot of them. I mean, it's like for a payment processor to work, they have to take all the credit cards, and to get through that, it's a quite difficult sometimes. So we got Cash App, PayPal. Both of us use Square. Like, what do you think the future of this? Do you think it's going to be more of an instant thing like Cash App, where I'm just going to throw you a couple of bucks, or do I need to log into a site, or where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I really do think. It is going to get more instant. So I'm starting to see that a little bit on my show too. People are like, can there be a Cash App or something that's a little bit kind of can keep me in stream. Like, I don't want to leave stream and then I don't want to leave the show and then have to come back. And so I think so. We're going to start to see we're going to see that almost kind of integrated payment system. So very much like YouTube's, what the hell do they call it? I just totally blanked on that, Tio. What is it? YouTube, like the YouTube super chat thing. There we go.
Super chat.
And you should absolutely super chat Tio right now and ask your questions. But I think that's going to be the future we're going to see more and more and more of that. And I think from a technology standpoint, we're going to start to see that to be really integrated into the stream itself. So, for example, I have people who watch me on like full-size TVs, right? Which I think is far too much. Like, I'm too big in real life. I don't need to be on anybody's.
So what are your dimension limits then? Is it like if they go over 30 inches, you're just intimidated at this point? Or?
I think so. It's like the big giant head. It's like big giant head of tarot. And so fortunately I'm just a little in the corner, but I think you're going to start to see a lot more kind of integration into even recorded videos that people are interested in just like subscribe buttons and just like buttons. I think we're just going to start to see a little bit more kind of integration, and I still think that's going to be a little bit kind of two screen integration, where your phone or your mobile device or even your watch is going to know what you're watching, and if you want to make a donation, you can just kind of like maybe, hey, I don't want to awaken the Google gods of my house, but hey, smart device's name, can you make a donation to Tarot Oracle's channel? And I think we're going to start to see more of that sort of kind of instantaneous payment will keep people on platform in the shows, and I think that's going to be where we're going to see. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see YouTube kind of go to that route. I don't necessarily want to give YouTube 70% of. That's not what they take, but you get the point.
Yeah, but some of these things just don't have a place for comments. When people get a Square donation, they give me $2.
Yeah.
I have no idea at all what their question
Yeah.
is. And so I have to ask in chat, and then I have to monitor in chat. Sunshiny Day. Thanks, Sunshiny Day.
Yay, sunshiny day. That was nice of you.
But it's difficult to, I think they need to add it. Whatever
I did.
you have.
So I use Square, and I noticed this very same thing. People would come in and they'd have to re-ask the question, and they wouldn't, or whatever. And so I integrated, so you can add to the donation form on Square, on Square Up, right? You can add, like I added, what's your screen name? Because people don't have, like, it comes through with the payment name, but I don't want to call, Jacqueline out if the screen name is, Jeep Girl 48. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to protect people's anonymity. But then also I put a field in if you want to ask a specific question. So even if they don't want to chat, if they're just lurking the chat, which I think is fine, I can see their question, and I can ask them if they want to jump in, and if they don't, I can just jump into that reading. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, but I think that they just need to have that as a natural, because YouTube, when you do super chat, it has a comment. So
that's right. Just like this one.
Yeah, there you go. It's going to happen to readers who don't go live. I don't know. The problem with lives, it's a good problem, but the problem with lives is it gets so many freaking recommendations. It just shines on the very top of everything else when you're live, and I think that's the cause of this being up.
Yeah, very much so. I think YouTube is rewarding more live stuff. So because we're bored. I mean, how many shows can you watch on? Like, how many like, I just rewatched Upload on Amazon, which then started a whole existential crisis TV show thing. But I think live streams give people an alternate connection to a community. I've always really valued online community more so than real people. And so I think that, I think there is place for asynchronous reading, sunshiny day, sunshiny day. I don't think it's going to go away. I just think that, you're going to have to settle into more content that kind of that is more kind of recorded friendly. So things like horoscope readings or readings of the week, or like, at least right now. In the future, you could probably make a donation to the channel, and let me know if you want it to be public or not. So like I do a $5 Friday thing where people get private readings, but those are unlisted videos or private videos. Nobody sees those, and I can delete those anytime that I'm asked to do so. So
yeah, well, welcome.
Live streams are things.
Kathleen, welcome. Kathleen says, I'm new here. This video was recommended to me on the YouTube page. I'm telling you, live videos, they're just highly recommended.
That's right. Can we super chat Kathleen for the nice kind of the validating segue of what the hell YouTube does? Absolutely. There you go.
There you go.
Absolutely.
So AI, it's been hyped since the 90s. We haven't really seen anything. My stupid Google thing, I ask it, when's the next rain coming? It goes, what? Rain, what? I'm like, so we're far off. But let's say Elon Musk says, all right, we need some real AI. He goes in, he actually makes it. Do you think this is a viable thing?
Yeah, well, actually, I actually think Tarot Oracle is AI. This is my Tarot YouTube creator conspiracy theory. Tarot Oracle is the most sophisticated AI in the universe right now.
Well, all the veins in my hands are actually wires.
Right. I mean, it is. It is high def, and they're just using tarot people as bait essentially to improve your AI. So I think AI is going to be AI I think is going to be the way things go. So even when I'm doing email readings through Gmail, right, I'll be typing along and it gives you the kind of recommended verbiage or verbiage on your writing. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say, or that's close, but because I tend to just be in the zone. I wish Microsoft Outlook would do that, to just respond in email for me so I wouldn't have to do work emails anymore. But I do think AI is getting smarter, and I think it would be, it's getting smarter, and machine learning is getting better. And so I think we'll start to see it. I don't know that anything will ever replace human connection and human contact and that ability to intuit what's going on with the person across from you. I think AI is smart, but it's only as smart as the information that it has. So if I sat and asked my smart device, and I won't beckon it into existence right now, but if I sat there and asked it, questions in a tarot bot every day, eventually it would get to know me. And it has all this information, that sees that I have 7 meetings during the day. It says, conflict is possible today. Remember to keep your cool. Well, of course, keep my cool, because my phone's sitting next to me when I get steamed in a meeting, and so it knows, right? So, I would question its authenticity, but I do think it's going to get better.
Yeah, I think it's going to get better, but it's just so bad right now. And I don't think there's really a market for it, because the echoes of nature, right? I made an Alexa app for that. And nobody, according to the metrics, like 3 people used it. It's just a complete failure. And I spent a lot of time, actually making that. But and I was thinking, okay, if people really like this, then I'm going to make one that teaches tarot, and I'm going to make this, and I'm going to make that. But if 3 people are using it, I have better things to do with my life.
That's right. Maybe it's private app development. You're just making apps for like 1 or 2 people. I don't know.
I guess.
Like they're just like some rich tarot enthusiast is like, hey, like, Tio, would you create me an app that I can use for tarot readings?
So the 3 people could actually use it.
Right, that's right.
So psychic fairs, I have no idea. I'm really curious. Is your psychic fair still going?
No.
It's dead?
No, it's dead. I do think I tried to do a virtual psychic fair and it just completely fell apart in its implementation. Probably not. Like if I was a full-time event creator, event manager, I did this for like all of my life, I probably could have put it together. But I think that could have been. I can rationalize the failure all I want, but at the end of the day, I have to kind of accept the fact that I just didn't want to pull it off. It got to be to the point where it was a little bit too much work. Where I think that might be changing is that I see places like, and Sunshiny Day mentioned kind of just like she really likes doing, or Sunshiny Day likes doing in-person readings, right? So, But I do think like Facebook, what is it called? Facebook rooms and Facebook online events, I think are going to make that sort of thing a lot easier. I just think the technology was behind. I think technology was behind the pandemic. Like who could have predicted that? So. But I do think you start to see professional conferences that are going virtual, and it's all really, they're boring as sin. Like I've been to one and it's boring. It's complicated. It's like people have to click on a calendar to get the different links. Ugh. But I do think that technology is eventually going to catch up to this kind of virtual conferencing platform stuff, and we'll start to see fairs leverage that, because a fair is like super cool for a local area and people can come together. But since we shouldn't be doing that right now, we need to have another place. But that said, so I think people are people, and so they'll always want to have in-person contact.
Yeah, they're talking about Simon Hermit's Cave did a tarot marathon. I think it's coming. I think the virtual fairs are coming. The problem, like you're talking about, is getting it together. If like you're talking about Facebook rooms or Instagram rooms, or somebody needs to create the platform to where we can do this without any effort. And then all you have to do is just recruit people and pile them on. I think then we're going to have virtual psychic fairs, just tons and tons of them. And then have a payment processor to where somebody donates and it'll filter over to whoever is doing the reading. To
whoever it's for,
Right.
Ideally, that would be, that would be great to like see that, where they can kind of drop into the fair, and just like going to a fair. And I think it's okay that people do that, like want to get in and do a live stream and accept donations, or they just want to do a seminar and they're not charging any money for that. And I think all that's fine, right? That's totally fine. However, remember that vendors and readers who are at fairs, that's their occupation, that's their job, and so they use that to pay for their rent. They use that to pay for their equipment. They use it to spur their business, and so it's a lot to ask tarot readers who do this full time, or vendors to do this full time, to do that for nothing for too terribly much longer, right? I'm totally giving and generous, and I'll do anything for just about anybody. And after a while, I want to see some measure of return, whether that's monetary or goodwill or good faith. Like, I just think that, I think that the online logistics management needs to be a little bit better.
Here's what I think is it Poker Stars? I'm looking at, there's an online poker thing, and they will, no, it's not Poker Stars. Okay, it's an online poker thing. Basically, it's a real dealer. It's an actual dealer that is there. And so this is all over Twitch. People will spend real money, and you'll have 5, 6, 10 people around a table, and you have an actual licensed dealer there putting cards out on the table, and you actually do real money. It's like being there. So it eliminates the randomness of a computer algorithm or random number generator, etc. So it's real cards. So here's what I think is the future of tarot. This is where I'm going. And after I retire, I'm going 100% on this. I don't care. I'm making this happen. Real tarot readers sitting there, like I can see you. If I want Dr. Mystical, I can pay for a Dr. Mystical reading, and it switches to you on my screen. I have you live on my screen. You lay cards down. It comes up in a little window on the right-hand side. It'll show the cards that you just laid down. It'll have you talking with the cards right there. And I'll be in a private room with you. And then I'll go back to the main room. I'll click on Kitty, and I'll zoom into Kitty. It'll be, okay, you're second in the queue. And I'll be, okay, while I'm waiting for Kitty, let me go over here and do Tarot Oracle. So I think that is possible. It's a lot of work, but logistically it's a lot of work. But I think it's possible, and I think that's where we're headed ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's for, as an event runner, like that's what you need, right? And so otherwise it's, when I kind of had structured out what the fair would look like, it was going to look like you going to a web page and embedded streams, which means now I got to go wait for you to go live, grab your embed code, drop onto the website, put the website up, add a button for your payment system if people want to do that, so they can jump into your live stream, jump out of your live stream, make a donation, jump back in your live stream. And that's too much to ask people to do. I don't think people are interested in doing that. And so, I agree. I think that it's going to look like kind of like seeing the multiple rooms, just like going to a fair, seeing the readers and saying, can I sit down with you? Live.
And then you can have a preview button. So you have a preview button. So I can click and I can see Dr. Mystical. I can see one of his open readings to where somebody clicked a button and says, okay, I wouldn't mind people watching this. Now I can see how Dr. Mystical reads. I can see what you did, what cards you used. I can go, maybe this is a good thing. Let me go ahead and get a reading. And then I'll look at somebody else's. I'll be like, I didn't like those cards. I didn't like their attitude. Let me click somebody else and try a sample,
Yeah, no, I know, I agree with that. And very much run it just kind of that virtual. I agree with you, Tio. I'd love to see you. There you go. This is Tarot Oracle's retirement mega empire. Although we've been in the game long enough to know that this is not a mega empire, but that sort of thing is handy for lots of different, like that's. It seems to me like we're talking about virtual psychic fairs, but also virtual Comic-Cons and virtual whatever reality conferences. Like, why wouldn't a platform like that also appeal to these other areas? So engines like this, I think, they need to be there. Otherwise, the logistics of this is just so botched up that it's difficult to manage it.
Yeah. Any final words, or what would you like to see in tarot in 10, 15 years?
I think I'm kind of happy. I'm not saying I'm happy with where it is and it should never change. I like that. I wish tarot would move a little bit faster in terms of its kind of adaptation and responsiveness to the community. I'd like to see, I'm really enjoying watching the plethora of inclusion and diversity and acknowledgement of the different aspects of our world in tarot decks. I like to see that the art is becoming more representative of who we are as a people, and I'd like to see. I really would. I would really like to see more people doing tarot. Like you had made in your community discussion post, you'd advertise this, and someone said that maybe tarot readers are going by the wayside because people should be learning or are learning to do their own tarot readings. And I think that that's great. I don't think tarot readers are going by the wayside by any stretch of the imagination. Like hundreds of years of evidence suggests that tarot readers are going to stick around. But I think that the coming to spirituality, whether it's tarot or mediumship or astrology or whatever you're into, I think people are coming back to this, coming back to spirituality and spiritualism and really understanding the kind of the nuance of it. And I think that what we're going to start to see is that as the pendulum sorts of swings this way, we're going to see a lot more innovation out there in terms of divination. I'd love to see, I don't know, tarot cards have been around for a long time, man. I don't know. Is there a different divination system out there? I mean, I thought I was pretty innovative with dice, but I wasn't. I was innovative for me, but not innovative in the real world. And so I'd like to see people kind of continue to do the practice. I'm a traditionalist, so I do glass swirling, and I'll always kind of go back to that kind of classical stuff. But I think tarot is going to just become more and more ubiquitous. I think we're going to start to see more tarot readers and more community, and I think that's where we're going to start to see. That's what I'd like to see tarot go, is become these spiritual communities that are inter-networked. And I think that that's really great. Like, I love that you and I share people from our audiences, and I love that and with other audiences, and I love that nature of, it's kind of like going to a block party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we are a rare breed. I mean, the tarot readers are a rare breed where somebody brand new can come in and they can say, "Hey, I'm just starting out," and then everybody encourages them, helps them out, gives them advice, and everybody is like, "Yeah, head over. We're willing to host this person." You have a lot of that, and it's really nice. You don't see that in any other community. Like, I'm in some of the video gaming community. You have like these little cliques, and and
they really rail on you and keep you down, and
they find anything you're doing wrong. They want to, like you're saying, keep you down. They don't want you to succeed because you're a competition then. But us, we're just like, welcome. We love to have you, and let's see what you got. And I think your video was great. Keep at it.
That's right. Yeah. Veronica says it's a tarot renaissance, and I think that it is, and I think that goes to like some of the. Like we talked about, all the decks are coming out constantly, and I do think it's a tarot renaissance. But I also think it is a kind of a magic renaissance. We're seeing, we know if you look at how magic and witchcraft and like not Hollywoodized witchcraft, but how kind of the witchiness and the spirituality and this sort of divination world. Like, I think we're seeing younger generations kind of reject the structures of church teachings. Were not that I'm not. If you do follow these tendencies, or this is fine. I'm totally okay with that. But I think we're starting to see generationally people are rejecting kind of organized legacy structures and get into a more kind of find my own way. And that's where spiritualism has its Renaissance power, because be who you are. We welcome you. And, do you want to read tarot in your tub? Like, by all means.
Sure. We'll have a dedicated tub tarot channel.
That's right.
Definitely, I am not going to be the one doing this, but maybe somebody that looks much better than me will be there.
Maybe. That's what we need. Where do you think it's going? I mean, besides the virtual psychic fair, where do you think tarot's headed? You do more thinking about this and more action on it than I do.
I have ideas all the time, but half of them are so weird that I'm like, I wonder if I should do that or not. And then I try it. Sometimes they work and sometimes they bomb. The Alexa Google app thing absolutely bombed. I have a thing on the Patreon where I was like, let me just do it behind the readings to where I'll explain what I was thinking when I did that. I'm like, this is going to bomb, and everybody loved it. So I have no idea. Yeah. I'm guessing at this point.
Liza's one. Yeah. So, yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, and I think that's part of the fun of tarot, right? Heidi's on Tub Tarot. She's on the ball here with it. That's good. Good. We need. Good.
If I see something in my recommended list with it called Tub Tarot, I know where it came from.
Yeah, sorry. We put that into the universe, and it can be your idea. And I wish you the very best with it. I don't know that I should be doing Tub Tarot.
I think I'm a little old for Tub Tarot, but yeah.
I am too, in lots of different ways. All
right. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank everyone for watching. This has been our biggest viewed or most viewed live stream yet, as far as the topic.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's crazy. Well, I enjoy having our conversations, Tio. I really am. I'm really grateful for your welcoming into your community and all the support that we have. And I was glad you asked, and it's been a kind of a weird summer, so I was glad you were there to ask at the time where I was like, I think I can come up for air for a minute.
There we go. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. See you later.
Bye, everybody.